relatable.
Yeah, like
January 23rd, hashtag relatable.
God damn.
Like,
How come we can't be that cool
in
on
that
here?
we all lived that same day. So
Jesus
relatable.
Christ. We absolutely did.
It's been a fucking week.
It's been a week. It's Wednesday. Is that what the saying is? It's only Wednesday, Lemon?
Yeah, yes.
It has been one. Our entire downstairs is wrapped in plastic right now.
Is that a euphemism?
I don't kiss and tell.
Okay.
No, we've got some painting happening, and it's been wild, man. Like, we have no sanctuary right now to like go and chill.
How have the dogs reacted to that?
High on paint. They've been eating paint chips. No, they've
been going chips as a kid.
Why? They went to daycare multiple days, and my wife has worked. We both work from home, so she's been able to go to her parents' house and work for a little bit of it. But holy shit, they come home and they're like, "The fuck? What? I hate what you've done with the place. We hate this." But it's coming together. We'll talk about it at the end of the episode, but
Sure.
This room is going to be really shitty to take apart.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to that.
So many nails.
Yes, I'm a fucking pinhead in here. My room's just a 90s horror. Hey, let's address something really quick. You might not be seeing Johnny as you normally do him, but you're seeing him how we see him every week. A sick little pig, and he won't be on stream tonight because he's not feeling very good, and we're gonna get him all buttered up and feeling better here on the show tonight.
Don't butter me up.
Figured you're already baked. Might as well put a whole butter on you.
Oh, yeah. I've had the flu or something.
Yeah, or something.
I tested negative for COVID. I took a COVID test today.
Hey,
yeah,
that's a plus.
How'd you test for being a little bitch?
We all know I failed that with flying colors.
I hope you feel better, and thanks for having the gumption to show up here tonight.
Look, I couldn't send you here on your own to talk about the biggest video game in the world right now.
I'm not a video game. I'm just your world. Yeah, we've got to talk about Palworld, and we got some other stuff to talk about though. This is the Casual Hour. It is Wednesday, the 24th of January. This is episode 361. I'm Bobby. Johnny is sick, and Chase is consistently here.
So I'm also sick, just not in that.
In the head.
You're sick with a K, not with a CK.
Yeah, sure.
We got, as Chase has talked about, and we've all talked about, we got to talk about Palworld. We got to talk about news around Nintendo rumors. We've got an update on some tactics stuff, I think, or no. Card game from Chase. So it'll be
I could talk about tactics too, but whatever works. We also got some Microsoft news.
Yeah. So, why don't we hop into what you've been playing really quick, and then we'll set the stage to have just a big Palworld discussion. So maybe we cover some of the other news and this save Palworld and get into that.
A powwow.
A powwow.
Powwow.
A couple of pals having a little bit of a powwow.
Powwow.
Yeah. Hey, remember that rapper Powwow that had the grill?
Powwow. Yeah.
Little Powwow.
Okay, sorry, I've got to write this for the episode title. Lil apostrophe wow. Okay, that's cool. That's good. It's good. Good stuff.
God damn it.
Yeah, I've been playing a couple of video games. I've been playing the court ordered amount of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Yeah, as one does.
That's still a pretty good video game.
Yeah,
I hit the 35-hour mark, and I hit like the story sequence that feels like, oh, you finished the thing, and then the game goes like, fuck no, you didn't finish the thing. That was just,
you didn't finish shit.
That's just a bait and switch right there. But it's been interesting. I've learned a lot more about the systems that go into the class changes. So you have to get specific skill, or you have to get kinds of skills as the lower classes to unlock higher classes.
Oh yes,
and
upper class standing on the shoulders of the lower class once again.
It's all class warfare over here. But you have to, like, some of the classes don't necessarily synergistic, so you have to like make a unit go into a worse class for them, just so you can get a skill, so then you can class back out of it into the real class that you want. Like I'm trying to get the assassin class right now, and to do that you have to go into like white mage for a little bit. I was like, I'm here to like murder people. I don't
Here
want
to
to be a
fuck shit
white
up.
mage. But you just have to be in white mage for like a tiny bit. So it's been neat. I've been enjoying it. I think the law stuff in there where it limits the
Says
things
certain
that you can do.
conditions. Yeah.
Yeah, like it starts out fine where it's just like, oh, there's one law that's for this whole fight, and that
Oh,
law
it adds
is
in more stuff later, like
yeah,
multiple laws you can't
So
break.
it's
Oh
like you
shit.
can't use
Breaking the law.
knives. So it's like, all right, cool. I just won't use a thief character for this one because thieves use knives. So I'll just use my soldiers who use great swords, or I'll use archers who use bow and arrows.
Mhm.
No big deal. Easily, perfectly fine. And then they go, okay, well now where I'm at is there are 3 laws per fight. So it's you can't use items, and you can't use color magic, and you can't use fight. And like, excuse me, fight's like the normal attack. You're telling me I can't do normal attacks? And they're like, yeah, no, fuck you, can't do it. And there are
Damn.
ways to. I mean, there are cards that you can get called anti-laws, and you can use those anti-laws to cancel out the laws that are there. But it's only a one-time thing, and then you've spent the card as a consumable. So you have to kind of pick your battles on when you're going to burn these anti-law cards. It gets rough because then there are soccer rules. If you break the rules, the judge comes over and he gives you a yellow card first, and then if you break the law again in the same map, he
Straight to
gives you a
jail.
red card and he sends you directly to jail. Yes,
Jail.
absolutely.
Yes, jail.
You you wipe out of existence on the map. You're sent directly to jail, and you have to go to the jail and pick them up.
Use thunder, jail.
Straight to jail.
Exactly.
Straight to jail.
The,
You want to
fun
use
thing is,
heal your party, jail.
You can manipulate it a little bit where you can choose a law that you know that the computer is going to fuck up, and then the computer opponents get sent
Jail.
to jail, and then you're like, oh yeah, cool, hey, fuck you, sorry, you
Damn.
didn't follow the rules. I think that can be kind of fun, but it has gotten really restrictive to the point of fuck me, like what the fuck am I even supposed to do on this map? Because then you also have enemies that you face is like, oh, I have the skill where I can't get hit by arrows at all, but also all the other weapons you would have used have laws against them for this one. Sorry. Like, goddamn, man, this sucks. What am I like? I'm so locked out of what I'm supposed to be able to do here. The one that gets me the most though is white magic is a form of color magic, where which makes sense. I mean, it's a color and it's got magic.
It's
in
all
it,
the
but
colors, right?
when I think of color magic, I'm like, oh, well, you just mean I can't use fire, thunder, and blizzard. Like, okay, sure, I just can't use those. That's fine. And they go, no. So when you try to heal your guy, he comes over. He's like, yellow card, motherfucker, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yellow card always gets you in the
Ocean
feels.
Avenue. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I think that game's pretty solidly fun. Even if it still does have some tactic stuff that annoys me,
That's
which
a lot of
we've
hours
talked
to put
about before.
into it.
It is a lot of hours, and I'm still enjoying it as I'm playing it. So I'm looking forward to you guys playing more of it over the next month or two, and then us talking about it more holistically. Outside of that, I have been playing a relatively new video game. It's not new exactly, but it's on new platforms recently, and that is Reigns 3 Kingdoms.
Nice.
So Reigns is a pretty long-running series at this point. They've made 4 of these things, I think. There's Reigns, there's the original Reigns, there's Reigns for Majesty, there's
Game of Thrones
Reigns, and now there's this one.
This
Reigns
is the 4th
3
one. Rein it in, man. It's
so
rain and rains.
Yes, let it rain. Blame it on the rain, as some people might say. If you haven't played Reigns before, the basic concept is we took Tinder and we turned it into a video game.
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
It's a dating app before you
Yeah.
got married. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even you don't know what Tinder is?
We
Even
know,
I know what
you're
Tinder
married. Fuck
I know.
off.
I know what
Some of us are working on it,
tendies
man.
are.
That's a little different.
Chicken tendies.
Tiny bit different. So basically, the idea it was made for phones, but the idea is that you can swipe left or right on these situations that show up, and then that kind of is like a choose your own adventure game where you're swiping left or right to decide what you're saying or what you're doing in the choose your own adventure story. And it was fine. It was fun. It was a cool little thing. You know, you were a king, and somebody would say, "Hey, I need some money for crops. Can you give me some money to do my crops?" And you can go, "No, fuck off," or "Sure, here's some money," and those would adjust for categories at the top, and those categories would correspond to you know, your supplies and how much the people like you and how your military's doing. And I think there were always four. I think there were always four. Maybe there were
Yeah.
just three.
Yeah. There was 4.
But there was like a morality one, I think, as well, or a spiritual one. And so every decision you would make would adjust those numbers on each of those things slightly. So if you tell the guy, fuck off, you're not getting my money, well, you get to keep your money. So your supplies goes up a little bit. If you give him the money, your supplies goes down. But also you told the farmer who's working for you to fuck off. So he doesn't like that. So the people don't like you a little bit more. And the basic goal of the game was to stay in balance as much as you can. If you got too low, you ran out of money, or the people fucking hated you and they killed you. Or if you got too high on some of these things, it's like, oh, you're too rich. You have too
decadent.
much. You have too much supplies, so the
you
people
eat
hate
yourself
you.
to death. Yeah.
Or the people are so happy, they're so democratic now that fuck a king. We don't need a king, and they burn down your castle and you die. That's the basic thing with Reigns. Reigns Her Majesty was kind of like almost like Miss Pac-Man style. We just added more to it and made you a female this time.
Yeah.
Yes, more or less. And then the Game of Thrones one threw in some Game of Thrones style characters and houses and things like that made it feel more like that. So Reigns Three Kingdoms is that again, but now it's Romance of the Three Kingdoms themed. Which I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show. I'm a bit of a fan of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms era and story. So this was kind of interesting to me. The reason I hadn't played it before, it has been out on phones and is it just phones and iPads before?
This one is just phones and iPads. Oh, I think maybe.
Well, it's on other stuff now, but the reason I hadn't played it before is when it came to phones and iPads, it was a Netflix exclusive, which meant free if you had Netflix, the same way that like Into the Breach and some of those other games. It's free if you have Netflix, but if you don't have Netflix, you're locked out of playing this at all. You can't pay them any amount of money to play the video game.
Well, maybe you'll be able to play it now because you'll be getting wrestling.
It's not enough for me to get it, but sure. Yes, yes, the WWE signed Raw for like the next 10 years to be on Netflix.
Yeah.
So what I did, the reason I'm playing this now is because they just recently released it on PCs and on the Nintendo Switch. It's $3. It's very.
Where are
very
you playing it, Chase?
I'm playing it on the Switch.
Oh man,
PC, I don't think... personal computer. I just now got.
Personally, I don't think either of those devices is the best place to play Reigns. It really works best on a phone or an iPad, but I just refuse to pay Netflix their blood money every month when I'm not using it.
You hear that, Reed? You hear that, Reed?
Yeah, maybe
someday. You see what happens, Reed?
I'm gonna download this on my phone right now because I do have Netflix.
Go for it. Sorry, I don't like Stranger Things. Kill me.
A lot of people don't like that anymore.
They changed, man. They changed. Yep. The whole world's upside down, right?
That's right.
Right? Yeah. Right. Anyway, Reigns Three Kingdoms has a couple of interesting things to it. One, it brings in some of the characters, and I like that. It's cool to see those characters. But they've also added in a battle mode that shows up sometimes in the single player, and then there's also an online multiplayer component that is just the battles, and it's a card game. And you'll get different cards that get drafted at the beginning of a match, and then you're put into like it's like two circles on either side, and you're trying to get in to the opposing circle because that's where their supplies are. And if you can get to the center and smash it a couple times. It has a number on it, like 9 or something, and so you bash it enough times where it goes down to 0. They're out of supplies, and you win. But then there are 4 cards that are circling that supply, that center, and those cards each have their own like power and toughness to them, and you have to attack those things and take out the guards that are surrounding the supplies before you can get in there. And they're on kind of like a rotation system where if you kill one, it'll go on kind of a cooldown for a couple turns, and then they can attack you back. And it's fine. It's a neat little system. Some of the cards have special abilities where this guy gains an extra power every time he attacks. This guy is an archer. He attacks everybody for 1 damage when he attacks. And the way you attack is you actually have to rotate your own cards to bring up the guy that you want to fight, and then before the end of your turn, you want to rotate it again to get it to the guy who's got the best toughness and the most health or something. So there is kind of an interesting little risk reward battle mode in there that I kind of like, but it rarely shows up in the game part of Reigns. Maybe it shows up more later as you go, but I've done 3 runs of this essentially, and I've only done 2 battles, and it's like, bam, that it feels like you're hiding a really cool feature here, and I wish you'd show off more of that. The 3 Kingdoms stuff is fine. Like it's not following the story exactly of Romance of the 3 Kingdoms. You're
Lubu
kind
in there.
I have not seen Lubu, but absolutely Lubu's going to be in there.
Oh boy, it's a lot.
You can't go.
My boo Lubu.
Yes, absolutely. Don't pursue him. It's a wrong call. So yeah, it's been fun, but it's kind of a trifle. If you're going into it thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get some hardcore 3 Kingdoms story in here, like, no, you're not. You're really not. You go play Total War 3 Kingdoms. Go read the book again. There's Bobby told me there's like a new Diablo style game starring Zhao Yun that's on Steam. That's probably a better place. It does look pretty cool. I ended up picking it up. I haven't played it yet, but so like there are other places to go if you want more 3 Kingdoms stuff, but as like a fun little thing. The one last thing that I think is kind of cool is that they kind of keep your progress in a bit of like a rogue legacy way, where after every run you die, but they show where the timeline is. So the timeline is still going the whole time, which is why I think maybe there will be more battles later as you get into more of the warring times of the 3 Kingdoms. But I've had somebody die, and now they're like this segment of the timeline, and then I reincarnate as another person, because it's kind of got like an Assassin's Creed Animus thing going on where you go back and forth. It's a little weird, but then you come back as another person. So like the first time I died as this woman, and then the next time I played as her husband. So you just kind of kept the story going. And then I died as him, and then he had an illegitimate child. So now you played as the illegitimate child, and so it's going to kind of keep going forward.
Sure.
And I think that's the way that they can push the story forward, so it doesn't just feel like a roguelike. It feels like an all-encompassing story.
I can see that.
And I think that's a neat feature. So I'll keep on messing around with it. I think the Switch controls aren't perfect. You can use the touchscreen on the Switch.
That's good.
And that works just fine. But some of the button stuff doesn't make 100% sense to me.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's fine with a mouse, but still, like if you have Netflix already, I would say this is a perfectly fine thing to
back and forth.
God,
who knows? Who knows? But if you already have Netflix, I think this is a perfectly fine game to just pick up. If you don't already have Netflix, I don't think this is the reason you need to pick it up. You can there are better reasons to get Netflix than to just play Reigns 3 Kingdoms. Now, if you said, "Hey, I want to play Into the Breach," then I'd be like, "Yeah, man, go get your Netflix account."
Do it, Ghost God.
But that's been me. That's what I've been playing.
Nice. I got into a play test for a game called Into the Grid, and I will be letting you all know what Into the Grid's about when I get in there and check it out. Let's figure out how we want to do this. We've got some non-Palworld news stories. We could either wait to cover those after our Palworld discussion, or we could do that and just get right into Palworld. What do y'all want to do?
Let's pal around, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Palworld. It's a game that I think Johnny and I have been like. Johnny, you've played a few other things. Maybe there's one or two games I've sprinkled in here as well, but I've put
Let's
a
get
ton.
some hour counts. How many hours each of you got?
I'm at 15 and a half.
I'm
I've been playing a
pull
lot
up-
of this, like just laying in bed playing Palworld on my Steam Deck, and it's been a not terrible way to spend the last few days.
15 and a half. That's a decent amount of hours. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't imagine anybody having more than 15 and a half hours into that video game.
Yeah, man,
That's
that's a
crazy.
lot, you know?
Yeah, congratulations. Anyway,
That's a lot
Bobby, how many
considering
hours do you
it's
have?
been out since Friday.
Right at 40.
That's a job right there.
You fucking-
You worked a job.
You fucking disgusting man. God damn it, dude. That's so many.
By the way, my 35 hours of Final Fantasy Tactics is since January 1st or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like,
God.
so that's spread out a bit.
Is any
You
of
have
that
40
idle
hours
time?
within, like,
Have you
the
ever just
last
let it
6
run for a little
days.
while?
No, that's also
You
not.
play it on Game Pass too.
Yeah, that's just Steam.
Oh, dude, that's like overtime. That's
Yeah, I'm pulling in, getting those dubs. I think,
Is it fair to say that you're enjoying yourself?
dude,
or-
I fucking love this game. I adore it. I'm having just a fantastic time with this game. I am blown away by how much fun I'm having.
Yeah, I think I'm right there. I was I don't want to say disappointed. Like I was like looking forward to checking it out, but like I assumed I'd play it on a Game Pass with you a couple times on stream.
You were pretty soured when you found out
And
what it
then-
was going to be.
I only have so much patience for survival games. Like I enjoy playing them with you, but I very rarely seek them out on my own, you know? Like
Yeah.
So having a handful that we play together from time to time is perfect for me, but I know
Yeah.
you being you are going to buy every single one that comes out, and so I'm like, well, I'll get it. We'll play together a little bit. But I did not expect to be spending most of the last few days just laying in bed
Sure.
playing this fucking game, collecting these monsters, and to me, it's less a survival game than base building, and that's what's so engaging to me is like because so much of it can just be automated. Like
Totally.
you have to do a little bit manually at first, but then it's so easy to go out. And the part that is really fun in the game is going out in the world and running around and fighting with the monsters and collecting treasure and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally. I
And I
think
think that's what I expected from the game. I was kind of thinking it would be more on the monster hunter side of things, where you know maybe it would be more about going out on hunts and battling these things and then capturing them and having them on your side.
Yeah,
So when I
for
saw
sure.
all of the base building and crafting, I mean, I know Monster Hunter has had a lot of crafting, but when it comes to like the more you know, like the survival Valheim style elements to that stuff, that's where I just was like, ah, damn, okay, this one's not for me.
Yeah.
But, it's definitely for Bobby.
What have you found yourself doing most of that time, Bobby? Is it improving your base or is it going out and exploring shit in the world?
so. It's both because what I really appreciate is this game is very giving with XP for catching pals. Like
yeah.
you get like anywhere from
bunch.
1,500 to 2,000 XP per catch, and you can that increases up to 10 times if you're catching the same species. So the base is my priority in the game. I have so much fun. I've built a really awesome layout for a base, and I've got everything automated now. I actually just got my third base last night, so now I have 3 bases on the map that I can fast travel to, and I have like my main hub that does everything, and then I have a pure iron deposit, and now I have a coal and iron, and I'm kind of gaming that out. So I check on those things, but I find myself
like satisfactory type stuff.
yeah,
100% is.
But then also, so like I totally get it.
It reminds me of
That's
like
awesome.
it wasn't the last Sim City, but it was like one of the Sim Cities where they really screwed it up and they had all these separate cities, but like some of the separate cities, like you're just focused on this one thing, and then this city's focused on this one thing, but they can trade between the cities, and that sounds a little bit like what you're doing with these bases.
It's very much like Ark. Like this is it's getting and we're going to talk about it, but it's getting compared to a lot of things, and it borrows from a lot of things. But if you were going to say like, Bobby, tell me exactly what this is, I would say this is baby's first arc in a lot of way. And it is a game that you are going out, capturing dinosaurs or pals in this case, that you can then bring back to do work at your base. You can traverse on, and you can actually attack with like missiles and all that shit from them. You are building bases and just like you would an arc, grinding out depots and all that shit to get what you need. It's very much that. It's from a Pokemon standpoint, let's just call it out. There's obviously inspiration, and the developer has come out today and said, of course we were inspired by a game that spawned all kinds of crazy stuff for folks. But I think that it definitely has inspirations that it wears on its sleeves from that game. But at the end of it all, it's borrowing from Arceus. That's probably the closest I would say from a Pokemon standpoint. Then you get a lot of Valheim meets Ark. Like those are kind of the three things that I would say make the game up. And I spend a ton of time going out to get resources to level up, to improve my base, but they have bosses on the map. And I appreciate that. There's also, I guess it would kind of be like the regional variants that you get in Pokemon. So I've found at least half a dozen to a dozen pals that have like a Terra variant or a water variant. So they might be a grass. Oh yeah. Cool. So like there was one called Robin Quill. I think you saw that one on the quick look chase.
I just caught one of those.
So there's a Robin Quill Terra that's yellow. That is a ground type version of that same pal. So you get a lot of those move sets, but done with a different element. And so it's not only like
good. Like I think you mentioned there's only like 110, 111, something like
111.
That. There aren't a ton of pals, so having variations on them is probably a smart way of differentiating a little bit.
So the other thing that I've gotten now is there's passive traits. So each pal from a work standpoint is geared to do, I think, up to like 8 different tasks, and it can do multiple of those. So it could be watering plants, it could be planting seeds, it could be transporting items, it could be mining, cutting wood, etc. And that goes up by like different levels of skill. So as you're automating your base, you're going to end up just putting in pals that serve a purpose. So that's the other thing too. It's like, hey, I just got this whole new conveyor belt basically system to craft shit out. I need to have way better skilled pals for this. So then I'm going out looking for those, and I just fly around and do it now. Like I explore, see what I get on the map. You can mark the map. It's really cool.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and Metal Gear Solid 5, whatever the fuck.
Sure.
The FOB,
where it's kind of that Fulton recovery stuff, and now you're taking those people and putting them into tasks. So I mean, it's also kind of like yes, you. In Pokemon, you got like your team of 6, but then anything that's over your team of 6 goes into the box.
Yeah.
Palworld says, what if that box meant something? What if they kept doing something in that box rather than just sitting there forever?
One thing I like is when one of them gets knocked out, they're out of contention for 10 minutes. So you're forced to swap in to another pal. And that's really helped me, like, usually I fall into like, okay, I'm just these are my guys for the whole game. And it's helped me like try out different pals when I'm out in the world.
It's really cool because in Pokemon, you would have the daycare that, hey, I can't take this one with me, but I want them to be leveling up. But if you had like share XP, then you could just maybe have somebody in your party. Like, I'm not going to use them, but I want them along for the ride. Palworld does shared XP for everything. So like if you chop a tree down, that like it's like 2 points. It's not a lot, but everybody's getting this passive that's in your party. It's up to 5. But to your point, you're also leveling up your actual base box, which is the PAL box you were referring to. And those are quests. So it's like, hey, you need to craft these things and then you can level up your base. And in doing so, you can add another PAL working on your base or earn another base to go and build. So what's really cool about it is you start to level up all these pals doing work for you. So they're leveling you up just by doing jobs that's also giving you resources. And we've talked a little bit about games doing some smart stuff in the genre. We talked about Prince of Persia and its memory system. I love this game, and they're not the first by any means, but it feels very different here based off of the skills we've been talking about. You can craft multiple chests, and when you build your PAL base structure, the PAL box, it puts this big perimeter up. It's like a big oval around the area you're in. Anything that you put in that oval is shared, absolutely shared. So if I'm chopping wood down and I put a box at the far edge of the base that I would never touch, somebody's going to be by the forest
I love
putting
that.
stuff into it. So when I go to
It's so
craft
awesome.
in my base, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're in this bubble. You have literally everything that's here. And I was
That was
trying.
a frustrating thing in like Stardew Valley or something. It's like,
Yes.
oh, you'd have this box, and this box is only for these things, and then
Yes.
you have to go to that
Yes.
box, and it's only for those
Yes.
things. Like, fuck, there's just so much time being wasted on that. It does
100%.
seem, I mean, like you said, they're not the first ones to think of it, but it's still like a nice feature to have. Of
It's
just
it's
shared
one of my
stuff anywhere
favorite
in.
quality of life features of this game.
The other thing that I will call out, I showed this to you, Chase, and I talked to Johnny about it last night, but for anybody listening or watching, if you don't like survival games, you're like, fuck, I think this concept is so cool. Like these creatures with guns, like this seems wild. I don't want to do all that noise. I think there's some accessibility things out of the gate that you can change first and foremost. Like one of them is if you die, you no longer lose all your shit. You just come back to life with it. And that just makes the story casual. I don't think you having to go and get your gear is worth it in a lot of cases. It holds you back. It makes, so do that if you want to. But they have something called a feed bag that you can get. And if you put that, it basically opens up a food slot in your personal inventory. Any food you have, which I just use berries because I have a berry plantation, you just get those and you put them in that slot, and it just feeds you and your pals. I don't even have to think about it. As long as there's something there.
The game has a hunger system, but this is a way to kind of
alleviate
circumvent that.
Yeah, and not too dissimilar from a Monster Hunter that you called out earlier. It has 3 different types of armor. So like metal armor seems to be the like highest caliber, or PAL metal is what the highest. But there's like a fire or a heat PAL metal, and there's an ice or cold PAL metal. So if you go to the desert, you put the cold one on to keep you cool. If you go to the mountains, you put the heat one on, etc. They do elemental stuff is very present, just like in Pokemon. You can go through the skill tree there. I think it's electric, it's grass type, fire, water, ground, dark, and normal, I think, are the ones that they have there. And those all get beaten the same way that you would expect if you've played any type of, elemental PAL or Pokemon or monster catcher.
Let me ask you this. What are you like really doing in the game? So like when I watched the quick look, it was a lot of, hey, we're doing base building stuff. Hey, we're going out in the world and we're exploring and finding pals. There was one time where you walked to it was like a camp of other people, and they had it kind of felt like the Far Cry 3
base,
hey, here's like a base where some people were captured and you have to liberate the base. And you did one of those things. But when I think about like a Pokemon style game, I'm thinking about training for gyms and thwarting a story of like a Team Rocket kind of thing. And that's the thing I don't feel like I saw in that quick look was something pushing you through a thing. It felt much more like a Breath of the Wild style, hey, you are in this world and I don't know, fuck it, go explore it.
It reminds me more so
just running around finding treasure chests.
It's that
stuff like that.
I think it's a little bit more. There is. It's not this based off. You compare it to Breath of the Wild, which is fair, but this is more Sonic Frontiers, in my opinion. Like the way that world feels, and
it's goofy. Yeah,
it's goofy in that sense. So here, there's
I guess Breath of the Wild more the aesthetic of the world.
Yeah,
rather,
for sure.
Because Breath of the Wild, you're discovering quests and you're actually having a reason to go to a lot of different places.
I mean, there's like dungeons and stuff,
it's
and
an open
there's
world to look around at.
There's boss fights, like repeatable boss fights.
That's probably what I would call out. So there's towers in this game. I think there's like 4 of them currently, and every tower has a boss. It's usually a unique PAL that they ride or do something pretty elaborate, and the game kind of kites you towards that first one. It's like this is the skill checkpoint. Like once you beat that boss, the tutorial goes away. But it's a tough fight, especially for early. I mean, it's like a 4,000 health character.
Yeah, it took me a few tries
for sure.
Well, I mean, just for some context, how much damage are you doing per hit or something? Like, what does 4,000 health mean in this?
I mean, I think your crossbow on a crit
250.
doing 250.
Yeah,
And that's at that point in time, that'll be like a bow is probably the
and
best weapon you have.
Your pal, if you activate their ability, like they'll melt that HP bar down.
That's
like,
that's the whole thing. It's like
a good
gear your
chunk.
pals up for this attack.
Yeah,
It's
like, I
basically
think
what
it's
they're telling
letting you
to do.
know, like, hey, you really need to get this ability unlocked.
Mhm.
It's going to make this much easier.
And by
and it's
each
true, because I
it's
tried
true.
fighting it many times without that. And I was like, okay, fuck it, I need to go get whatever materials I need to upgrade my little grass monkey. So he pulls out his Uzi and shoots at them.
It's a post-apocalyptic game. You are finding some ancient technology that looks an awful lot like stuff we would use today, and that is a currency that you use to unlock these pretty big, like the feed bag that we called out, or the egg incubator, those types of ancient tech.
Have you seen the Statue of Liberty poking out of the world somewhere?
I haven't seen that, but there's
Damn it.
there's
Damn
4
you
points.
all the hell.
Like, they seem to be inspired by a lot of things, so I just wondered if maybe that was why I was in there too.
There's at the by each base a little bit further out, there's these sanctuary islands that have very high level pals, very high level drop shit, but there's 3 factions in the game also. You have a syndicate that is kind of exploiting pals, stealing pals. Those are the ones you saw in the cage. And then you have like the religious zealots that are really here to like honor and support and protect pals, but like take certain pals out from a pure standpoint. And then you have basically like the highest level of the military that's just watching all this kind of go down on these islands. And so when you go to these safari zones or these extra areas that have it, you're a criminal doing that. So if they see you do anything, catching or attacking, they come at you with the full force. So there's only one thing in the early access period so far where it's like the towers are the key. And so by beating these bosses, you get a key that kind of unlocks the secrets of this world from what it seems to be. And that's the story so far.
You know, I think the real shame about Palworld is that the story, at least the mainstream story around it, is you have a lot of people talking about Palworld, but you don't have a lot of people talking about the game. They're talking about
all the
stuff that's going around. Like,
from what I'm
seeing, stories
that
I've seen are about sales and about whether they stole everything. And you're not hearing much about what the game is and the mechanics of it. And that's why I really appreciate the conversation we're having here, just to be hearing more about like what is the game. Because again, I don't think I'm particularly interested in the video game, but I don't feel like a lot of people have been able to form a real opinion on the game, because the conversation around the game has only been around, God, look at how many copies they fucking sold. And also, did they steal those models from Pokemon? I can't believe that. Nintendo's lawyers got to get in there. And like, nobody's really talking about like what the game is.
So I would say this, like, here's why this is probably one of the biggest dopamine hits I've had in some time with a game. You all know on this show, if we were talking about Pokemon, we've gone to great lengths to catch them all. We've been told to do that our whole life. There is something that happens about, holy shit, I got that Pokemon, or I got the
Game Freak did take the gotta catch them all part out of it when they stopped putting the full Pokedex in the
That's
game.
fair.
which
I think
also pissed people off. But yes, continue. Sorry, you are right. You are right.
Yeah,
we are supposed to get them all.
That's a huge hit, right? So you're doing that. And you're like, fuck, I just saw a new pal. That's badass. It looks like a big turtle. I like that thing. So I'm going to get it. You get super excited and you're like, oh shit, this is the one pal that I would use to like mine this. They're the most efficient miner. So then it's like, okay, cool. I want to get more of them. Oh, fuck. Now I got like excitement because I got these. I know I'm going to get more of this iron ore. And then it's like, well, fuck, now I can go and I can build this out and do that. So you get like, it's this domino effect for me of just like big high, big high, big high that keeps happening with it. And then they throw in all these fucking things I love from different video games into one house. I'm like, I just got everything right. This is awesome.
that is a cool feature to incentivize you to catch more of the same pal.
Hmm.
Because when I play a Pokemon game, maybe I don't know if other people are like this.
I just
Maybe it's
catch
just
one.
like, yeah, you catch one
Yeah.
and you're like, that's the one I have,
Yeah.
or
Unless
maybe
there's like some
you
specific thing I need to do
right, like maybe you
with
catch a couple to get the one with the best DBs
trait
or
or
whatever, like
whatever.
the
Yeah.
best stats on it, or you're shiny hunting, so you're looking for the special one of it. But outside of the Let's Go games, there hasn't really been, and Pokemon Go, I guess, which is the same kind of idea as Let's Go. There's very little reason to catch multiples
Yeah.
of the same Pokemon. Now, when you get in, and then you get into Let's Go, and it's like, I mean, you don't really need all these Pokemon. You're still only going to use one or two of them, but you are incentivized to catch them because you get extra materials. And then in Go, the phone one, I mean, you're really just getting the candies for catching
Yeah.
more of the same kind. But this feels like it has a real mechanical, like
Well,
physical thing that you're getting out of
it's
catching
double edged
more of the
too,
same one.
because then it gets into the real sicko part of your brain, because it's like, all right, cool, man, that armor is awesome. I just got a blueprint for this armor. That's going to help me out because I want to take out that big mammoth. But this thing needs something called fire intestines. And then you realize that there's a drop now tied to a pal. So you can go and kill it, or you can capture it. And if you capture it, you're getting XP boost. And up to 10 times if you capture it, you're also getting its mats when you catch it. You can take it a step further. You can butcher it. This is
So you're taking someone's guts and you still get the
Yeah.
still get the pal.
It's the best of both
So-
worlds,
That's
baby.
fucked up.
It's like
So-
they do that in Monster Hunter. When you
Yeah.
capture it,
yeah, you get more.
you get more parts. Yeah.
So then it becomes like, all right, I need to figure out where they're spawning. So you go and explore, and then you might find a treasure chest that does something. But the game also makes it like, all right, cool, I kind of got this going where it needs to go. My camp's automated. I'm getting things taken care of. How am I going to go and get more of this now in a way that would help out? So I think that is a piece of this game that feels really good for me, is that like it makes catching, which is one of the coolest, like I like the act of doing things on Pokemon, but
Yeah.
all that to be said, I get to build a base, which I love to do. I'm collecting creatures that have cool abilities and upgrades. I'm also upgrading my character that I can customize, giving them really neat things. Like I'm about to get like really one of the best guns that I can get, which I think is awesome. So I'm having a blast with it.
Nice. I mean, again, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and even though I know it's not for me based on what I've seen, and we watched the quick look, or we did the quick look, and I watched that stuff. It's I am grateful to hear more about like what the video game is,
Yeah.
rather than just talking about sales numbers and plagiarism stuff.
I know I say this type of stuff to you all the time, man, but I think that I've heard from enough people, like we've played games with some of our community from Discord already with this that aren't in like, what do I do here? I don't really play these types of things, that are like, this is actually really fun. I don't know if you care enough or if you're on the fence enough to even give it a shit, but I think that this game does get out of your way on those things, that you wouldn't have to put much effort into it. But this is a survival craft game, which I know is not your shit. Like I would say it's more forgiving and friendly than like an Ooblets.
Sure. Like no matter how much lipstick you put on that pig, that's still a pig to me.
Two
and yeah,
pigs.
I didn't play Ooblets for the same reason. Because it's like, oh, this is not the kind of game I wanted it to be, even if I really like Pokemon style games.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, Johnny, tell me how many copies Palworld sold.
8 million, Chase.
That's a lot.
As of right before we started doing this podcast.
I gotta tell you, I did not see this happening.
No.
No, come on. I totally did. It's the
You thought it was going to be this big of a game? Like this is the second most.
At some point, millions don't make any. Like you could put out any number and I'd go sure. Like once it's past so many certain million, like who cares? It's all there.
I guess I did not expect it to be like the concurrent players.
The game is Pokemon with guns. People want that.
That's true. People want to do some really bad things to Pokemon.
People really want to play a Pokemon game with guns. So I'm not surprised that it's been so popular. It's also it's only $30 on Steam, right?
$30 on Steam, and it's on Game Pass too.
And
no,
they haven't. So
they haven't talked about
it's
the
on
Game
sale
Pass
for
stuff.
27.
Yeah,
right now.
$27.
Ooh, get it while it's hot. Yeah, I mean it's a popular style of game. I think it's gotten enough press where press for good and bad reasons that it's hit a certain threshold of being in the mainstream, and people are just aware of it and they're curious about it and they want to go try it. So
yeah,
I'm not as surprised by the number. I think what I am surprised about is the amount of conversation that is around it.
I would agree with
like
that
I
too.
talked about before, the content of that conversation being so specific on two things.
I think that there's a few conversations happening here. Maybe let's just touch on that a bit before. I mean, we can go into the news that supports it, but it's kind of around what you called out: how many copies, but also how is this allowed? Is probably the conversations I'm seeing the most.
Yeah, like Pocket Pair CEO said that I can't remember the guy's name, but he said in a statement that we went through a legal review. Everything we've shown was cleared. We feel we're fine on we're on fine legal ground. You've had Twitter sleuths and other people who've tried to line up models, and you look at some of these things and go like, yeah, those proportions look close. You've had developers that have talked, like modelers and artists who've said like it'd be really hard to make those things that close if you weren't just stealing them. And I mean, sure, there's a lot of talk on either side, but I really don't think that matters. That should matter as much to the general public as just like what is the game about and what are you doing and is it an enjoyable video game rather than is it stealing.
Statement here from Pokemon Company.
Yeah,
came out 3 minutes ago.
Warrior
64.
I said, "Fuck them kids."
Inquiries regarding other companies' games. We've received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon in its world and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future.
So that seems more specifically aimed at the other news story that I put in here, that there's a specific modder who is making a Pokemon, making an unofficial Pokemon mod for Palworld. And that statement sounds like it's more about this mod than it is about
I would agree with that
as a whole thing.
Because I think that
it's just the fact that they
the fact that they made a statement at all is
isn't the news story like the headline for that the person who modded it? They said Nintendo is coming for me or something.
Fuck, dude, there's a story on CNN about this shit. Like that's
I mean, to get that story out of the way, yes, there's a guy named Toasted Shoes. He's got a modding team apparently, and on Twitter he posted a preview of a kind of like total conversion mod that would put Pokemon into Palworld, change all the pals for Pokemon. So yes, you can have a Pikachu or a Torchic, I think, are ones that are shown. Like Electabuzz was also in there. And Nintendo DMCA'd the tweet or the video on Twitter, or sent him a DMCA, and then they have taken down the YouTube video that had the preview video on it. So Nintendo has done something about this specific thing, but they have not taken further or bigger legal action against Pocket Pair in any way. And so far we don't know if they will, and that's up to them to figure out what they were going to do. But this specific mod was a very obvious, like,
oh my god,
hey, I'm stealing your shit and I'm doing stuff.
I gotta feel this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a guy that likes games. Okay.
Yeah.
But I have to feel that this game for years now has been shown. There's been enough here leading up to release that Nintendo's they had to be aware. They had to know.
Sure.
They had to have their finger on the pulse of this thing. It's not like this game came out and they're all, we got to have a fucking rally about what's going on with this game. Have you seen this? Yeah. I think that they probably had this game.
Seen this? You heard about this?
Yeah, I think they probably had it in their proximity for sure.
Yeah, they've been clocking it forever. I mean, for as Nintendo is famously litigious. We've seen
Hmm.
them we've seen them do takedown requests. We've seen them sue people. But at the same time, they could be a lot more litigious.
I
They certainly could smack down a lot more people. Like I've talked about plenty of ROM hacks of Pokemon games that I've really enjoyed, and
Yeah,
Nintendo technically could be well within their rights to try to shoot them all down.
sure.
But at some point, those things are too small and they're too unimportant for Nintendo to care about. So for this one to also not get something yet in any of its preview materials and any of its development, maybe it's just Nintendo's lawyers collecting more data and being like, well, we need, if we see the models and we can get these assets, maybe we can make a more informed suit. It's possible, but also it's possible they go, hey, this one's not worth our time.
It's weird to me, I guess. Again, everything's different, right? We're looking at multiple shades here, but I've played a lot of the Poke clones out there, the Coromons, the Temtems. I've played the Cassette Beast. I've done it all. Like I haven't played Digimon, but I feel like there's I don't know what it is about this one. If it's truly that they're using assets that don't belong to them, and like that's a big fucking deal. But I think that I've played enough of these games where it's like, oh, this is a water turtle. Okay, it's not Squirtle. This is a firefighting monkey. Like, okay, cool. Like I've seen this before. Like I know what you want my brain to do here. And I think for me, playing those games, I've never walked away and been like, those are better than Pokemon. I've never fucking done that. There's been some I'm like, hey, this is a really cool one of those. We even did Best Little Guy on one of our Game of the Years. But all that to be said, they could change up these models completely for me, and I would not be upset at all. Like I'm not only there for Pokemon with guns. I think it's funny. I think it's really neat what they're doing with some of the other stuff. But I'm having such a good time with the hook of this game and the loop of it. And I guess I'm just also kind of confused that there hasn't been there. I mean, one, the sales haven't been there for these other games, so I'm not overly surprised there. But I think Tim a couple of years, 2020, that was a hugely excitable game for folks. Like they wanted to see more Tim. It was in early access. It's what led me down this rabbit hole building a PC. But
Yeah.
I think that I guess I'm just confused more than anything. Like if there is truly stuff being stolen, let's talk about it. But I think it's weird that they're having this much of a discord on this game right now. It's wild.
And I think the especially weird thing is that it's people white knighting for Nintendo rather than just letting Nintendo decide what is and isn't their property. You have so many people who want to bow immediately to a big corporation and go, "Oh, you shouldn't do that to Nintendo." Like fuck Nintendo. Like get away with as much shit as you possibly can before the hammer comes down. I love Nintendo. I love Nintendo games. I love plenty of stuff. But just because you like the big company's thing doesn't mean you have to you don't have to simp for it.
No.
Like you can totally like, hey, I like all sorts of like Pokemon ROM hacks and fan games and stuff like that. People can steal all sorts of ideas because I think people are doing a lot cooler and more interesting stuff than Game Freak is today. If you can look back at the last handful of Pokemon games and they're mid as fuck.
Being
we
generous.
even really liked Sword and Shield, and then we realized how bad it ended up being, or how boring it slowly got. And Scarlet and Violet had a ton of problems, and I'm fine with somebody trying to do something new, and Palworld is trying to do something new by taking from so many different things. That's just creativity right there. You steal from enough different things to make a new thing. It's a
art,
new thing,
right?
yeah, like that's what that is. Now, totally, you look at one of these monsters and you go, well, they just took a fucking Eevee model and turned it white. Then you go like, yeah, okay, that's a little fucked up. And that's a little disappointing to me, is because if you do have like a creative, interesting idea, put a little bit more effort into making the pals different, and then you don't have the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like we see this stuff happen in other industries. Like I worked in tech for a long time. I worked for Apple, and every fucking day somebody came in and talked to me about, well, Apple's stealing this from Android or Android stealing that from Apple. Like I come from a world where features become very much similar, and Apple would get litigious, Android would get litigious. It would be all those things that would happen. It was wild to be part of. Movies, Dante's Peak, Inferno. You had like you had Armageddon and you had the Total Impact. You had all these movies where it's like two come out. You had the Prestige and then the one with Ed Norton in it.
Well, and when they come out at the same time, it's not that they were stealing from each other.
No.
It's just, sometimes two people have the same idea.
Yeah.
And now Palworld's certainly coming out much later than Pokemon did.
It is.
But
yes.
Yeah, I think my point still is more mainly, you do not need to fight Nintendo's battle for them. Nintendo is very well.
Somebody's getting paid to do that. So you're paying Nintendo to be a simp for them.
Exactly. You do not have to do this to yourself or to anyone
else.
Like,
let Nintendo figure
it out.
These big fucking companies, like, they don't care about you. Don't fucking do this for them. Speaking as somebody who worked for one of the biggest ones for a long time, don't fucking do it. They don't care. Just don't. It's terrible. If you like the game, like it. If there's something that tells you that you morally can't get on board with it, walk the path, but don't fucking get out like, if I like this game, don't come at me for that. I'm going to play it. I've already played it for a fucking work week. I'm going to keep doing it. It's great. But if you don't like it and you don't get on, and if they end up doing something shady where they stole it, then I will stop playing this game. Like, I just don't want to fucking support that.
Sure. All right, we've talked a lot about Palworld. I know we're getting a little bit late. I think there are some more of these news stories that I would like to touch on, though, if we could.
Yeah, we don't have to get through all of them, but we can.
Yeah, please. I'm fading fast over here, boys.
Well, you were never important to the show to begin with, so we'll we'll manage. All right, let's talk more about Nintendo. How's that sound? There is a leaker rumor person going around now. I take this with a grain of salt because it's coming from 4chan, which that's a place. That's a place. That's
always a trustworthy.
But this 4chan user apparently has a little bit of credibility in that they were correctly leaked that the Peach game was going to have like a ninja costume and some other stuff in there that they correctly predicted before it actually showed up. So maybe this stuff has some credibility. Who knows? Also, any of this stuff could totally have changed by the time this person learned about it, if it was true at one point at all. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But what's being said is that there will be Zelda Oracle remakes that are coming out this year from Grezzo, which is the same studio that worked on the Link's Awakening.
Oh yeah, I get on board with that.
I think that'd be rad. Those are great games. It seems like it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it makes so much sense that you already have done the asset work for Link's Awakening, and the Oracle games use the same stuff from Link's Awakening on the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy. You could totally just do this, and it sounds like they are, and that would be really cool. I hope they do. Also mentioned was a Fire Emblem 4 remake. Fire Emblem 4 is Genealogy of the Holy War, which we haven't seen. It hasn't gotten a localization before, so that would be really cool. It is the next one in line that they haven't remade yet. They did remake 3 on the DS, so that's they've already remade 1 and 2 was Echoes and 3 was also on the DS. So this would be the next one to do. There have been rumors that maybe they would do the Tellius games, which are the ones with Ike in them, if you remember Ike from Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
But this comes before. This is Sigurd, who was the guy on the horse. If you played Engage, he's the guy who gave Kanto to all your guys.
Yeah.
It's Donkey Kong Country's 30th anniversary this year, guys, and
don't tell me that.
The leaker is saying that there might be a new Donkey Kong Country game to celebrate that. Also, Metroid Prime 2 remastered, and then a new Famicom Detective Club game, which is being rebranded as Nintendo Detective Club. And playing that first remake of Famicom Detective Club, I had a great time with that. I really do need to play the second one, And then I can't tell if this is a brand new one, or if this is just another remake from another older Famicom Detective Club that I don't know about. I think it's a brand new one though, so we'll see. But that's some news. That's some news of that stuff coming out. And then just real quickly at the end,
Pour one out, baby.
yeah, it's time to end the show. Apparently, Rock Band DLC is ending after 8 years and 3,000 songs. That's
Rock and roll's dead.
yeah, and Epic killed it. So yeah, Harmonix says that they're done putting out stuff. I think one of the last ones was Goodbye Yellow Brick Road from Elton John.
Hell of one to go with.
So they're putting out a handful of final songs, but they are about to sunset that. Sunset making new ones anyway. The servers are still going to be up. You can still buy the songs. If you have the songs, you're going to get to keep them. They haven't mentioned anything with server stuff yet, so all that stuff is safe for the foreseeable future. But Harmonix is seemingly transitioning to full-time Fortnite work. They're working on Fortnite Festival, which I think is like a couple of rock bandy style modes within Fortnite. Have you guys touched this at all?
No, but that's what it is. It's just using Fortnite skinned over that.
Yeah, from what I gathered, there's still a bunch of add-on songs in that you can buy, but then there's like a rotation of free songs that happen, and there's like a simplified rock band mode, and there's like another game that is kind of more based on Harmonix game Fuser. So they kind of have like, hey, we took the games that Harmonix makes and we just put them into Fortnite because we'll put anything into Fortnite these days.
Yep.
So yeah, pour one out for Rock Band. It's sad that they're ending, but also 8 years of DLC is pretty. You're feeding people quite a bit, so good on them.
Well, let's
anyway, that's what we got.
Appreciate that, Chase. We'll do a quick little sign off here. We have this is it for a while, everybody. We're gonna take a small hiatus while I get the house torn apart. So we'll let you know on Twitter and other social places what we got going on there. But no stream Friday night. We got friends coming to town, so this is going to be it from us for a bit. We appreciate that. I will let you know when I get the house all situated, and we'll be back running this show the way we should be. Go watch some of our old stuff, though. We got some cool stuff happening there. Chase, I'll shout you out here. What do you got going on as well?
Yeah, I'll still be making new stuff. There's a new episode of Stadium Brats that just went out today, and that's still very exciting.
Yeah.
That's getting close. You're not muted, Johnny. So there's still some more Stadium Brats coming out, but that's starting to wrap up. So I'm looking forward to playing the next game for whatever Chasey K Plays does. And then also my podcast pilot program is coming back finally. Where there was a big writer strike, we went on a big hiatus for that. And then we had some scheduling stuff of trying to figure it out. But now Pierce and I are getting back to doing a pilot program. We're recording the first episode tomorrow. It's going to be on the Twilight Zone, the 1965 version, the original version. And that's going to be real fun. I'm very excited to talk about it and put that out. And then, go look on the link tree to find more stuff about that. I'll also post it on Pilot Program and my own Twitter account. So good stuff going around. I'm going to miss doing Casual Hour for a bit, but good luck to Bobby as he continues to transition his house and build it up to sell it and buy a new one. That'll be exciting. And, I'm excited to see what your new studio setup's going to look like. I bet it'll be cool.
It'll be cool for sure. We'll talk to y'all soon.